Every year, bicycle organizations around the country organize Bike to Work Day, hoping to lure workers out of their cars. This year's designated day was a soggy one in the nation's capital, but thousands still pedaled to rallies all around the Washington area. Why would so many otherwise sane workers choose to get drenched while perched over two skinny tires on slick city streets? I'm one of them, biking to work in D.C. every day, and I can say it's fun, it's healthy, and these days, it's making more and more sense for the old pocketbook.
You may never have considered bicycling to work before, but with gas in the neighborhood of $4 a gallon, for many people it's seeming like a smarter idea all the time.
So as drivers are counting off $4 in gas for every 20 or 30 miles they're driving, we bikers are counting off pretty much nothing more than calories.
Car ownership is about 17 to 20% of a family's income.
Glenn Harrison is a full-time advocate for biking in his job with the Washington Area Bicyclist Association. He says when you add up gas, payments, upkeep, parking, and pour them all into the cost per mile, bikes clearly win because it costs
almost $2 per mile to drive a car.
So if you can replace one car with bikes, that's a substantial savings, and growing all the time as the price of gas soars. And with the price for the average new car in the neighborhood of $20,000, bikes look mighty cheap in comparison.
But you can get a really good quality bike for $300 to $400.
Several things keep most people from even considering bike commuting. They think it's too hard, too slow, too unsafe, too impractical. But a city like Portland, Oregon can convince you otherwise. Nationwide, about 1 out of every 200 people bikes to work. In Portland, it's 6 out of 200. Scott Bricker is a full-time professional biking advocate. So comfy with two-wheeling, he pedals around the town in his suit.
A lot of young people have come to Portland specifically because they care about bicycling, they want that kind of lifestyle. And so in the last decade, bicycling has tripled in Portland.
As the city's bike coordinator, Roger Geller hopes to keep pushing that number higher. He himself bikes 3 miles to work in downtown Portland, both because it's fun and for practical reasons.
Desire to not be stuck in traffic, desire to not spend money on gas.
Portland is laced with hundreds of miles of bike lanes and trails. Dan Burton uses one of those trails to bike 20 miles round trip to his office every day.
Getting out, getting your blood pumping makes me feel great, and I have all kinds of energy when I get to work.
Biking 30 minutes a day meets the daily exercise requirements for healthy living and fights obesity. If you can turn your kids into lifelong bikers, studies show it'll improve their mental agility and they'll actually do better in school. It'll also help them ward off heart disease, obesity, and some forms of cancer, as well as improve their immune system.
I'm also saving a lot of money biking instead of driving. For instance, the average car costs about $7,000 a year to own and operate. Biking, just about $120. So I'm saving around $500 a month.
Most families spend more than 6 weeks a year working to pay their car expenses. Just 1 day of work covers the cost for a year of biking.
No extra car payment, no 2-car insurance, so we must be saving a lot.
You might be able to actually get to work faster pedaling. The average speed for cars in an urban area is about 13 miles per hour. Many cyclists go 12 to 15 miles per hour. And in cities like Portland that hold annual contests pitting cars, buses, and bikes against each other,
Cyclist always wins.
Such tests have been done in D.C.
And every time the bicycle, even stopping at red lights, got through quicker.
There's also the environmental benefit, because for every 4 miles a commuter bikes instead of drives, he's keeping 15 pounds of pollutants out of the atmosphere. So let's say you're convinced. Now you need the right stuff. First, go to a good bike shop to get your bike. Those cheap ones at big department stores aren't safe or sturdy enough for daily commuting. Then you have to decide whether you want a road bike with thin tires and a hard seat so you can go really fast, or what's recommended for beginners by bike expert Jay Graves, a hybrid.
Very comfortable and yet stable with a wider tire than your old-fashioned road bike.
Graves also recommends a good solid helmet, lights for both the front and rear of your bike, fenders if you want to keep rain from going up your backside, and front or rear bike bags.
So why not hop on a bike and save yourself some gas, some money, the environment, and maybe even your own health? This is Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the Bike to Work Day event in Washington, D.C.